All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. It is Wednesday, so Wednesday means the first injury report of the week came out, and certainly there are some big names that have not only appeared on the injury report today, but also have very questionable statuses coming up for Fantasy Football Week 9. Before I go any further, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. I think 815 subscribers last time I checked, so I want to get over that 1,000 mark. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification button as well, so you know when new videos are added and when I go live. Certainly, some big names, like I said before, have appeared on the Wednesday injury report, which we're going to get to. I'm going to go through the entire injury report. Also, it's never too early to start looking ahead to next season and viewing the 2022 season. With that in mind, there are some key players that, in my opinion, have reached their cliff season and gone over it. I mentioned this yesterday about Joe Mixon, who certainly makes that list, in my opinion. But there's some other key names that I wanted to discuss in terms of guys that I was willing to draft this season, but I'm certainly not going to be interested in drafting next season based on what we've seen so far in the 2022 campaign. So the two biggest issues injury-wise of the day, right at the top, Keenan Allen. So Keenan Allen has hardly played this season. He's been battling this chronic hamstring injury. I believe it was week 2 that he went out. And now here we are approaching week 9. He did come back for week 7 on a limited snap count, caught 2 passes, admitted he really wasn't 100%. He didn't have any speed or explosion, and did not practice today, Wednesday, and admitted when he spoke to reporters that he did suffer some sort of a setback with the hamstring, maybe coming back a little bit too early there in week 7, and that his availability is certainly up in the air for week 9. So now here we are, potentially a 6th missed game for Keenan Allen as the season hit his fantasy football owners. The season's probably starting to slip away for him. And like I said, many of his owners as well. And, really Allen's absence, even before Mike Williams got injured, this Los Angeles Chargers offense has not been firing on all cylinders. It really showed you how crucial Allen was to the entire operation, because while Mike Williams makes the big plays down the field and he, gets the majority of touchdown receptions, Allen is the chain mover. He's the safety valve. And this is very important for a young quarterback like Justin Herbert. So when people wonder why is Justin Herbert struggling this season, well, the absence of Keenan Allen is right at the very top of the reasons why we haven't seen the customary dominant Herbert season that we saw his first 2 years in the league. And it certainly looks like that Allen is not going to play based on an initial read in week 9. And even if he does play, we're in this gray zone area where he could be on a snap count, just like in week 7, not 100%. Incidence of or chance of re-injury is very high. So if I'm an Allen owner, I'm not going to play him this week. So, and this is what this does too, is if you were able to snag Josh Palmer off waivers, Palmer looks like a tremendous option this week. All right. So listen, Justin Herbert's got to throw it to somebody. This is a passing offense. The checkdowns to Austin Eckler are just beyond ridiculous, but it's a lot of dinking and dunking, very, very little in the way of big plays. Josh Palmer is capable of making a big play down the field. All right. Not saying he's Mike Williams, but he has the speed and he has the athletic ability to gain separation and catch that intermediate to deep pass. And this should open up room for DeAndre Carter, for Austin Eckler underneath, and certainly for Gerald Everett. If you're a Gerald Everett owner, he's probably sitting on your bench. This would be a good week to put Gerald Everett back in there. I know myself. I needed a tight end this week with Dalton Schultz on a bye. I need a quarterback next week in both of my leagues because of the Lamar Jackson being on a bye. So I swung a small trade last night. I got out from Brandon Cooks. I traded Cooks and A.J. Dillon to a team who had no running back, so he was willing to take A.J. Dillon for Justin Fields and Gerald Everett. So I'm going to use Everett this week. I think Everett's going to be a big red zone target. I think Everett's going to maybe post a season-high reception total this week. But Josh Palmer as well looks like a very good play, in my opinion, and I think he should be put that out there both in standard leagues and in PPR. Now, as far as Keenan Allen, you're not dropping him, although I am starting to see some impatience that people are dropping Keenan Allen. I understand the frustration. Resist the urge to do that, because once Allen comes back, if he ever gets to 100%, and listen, he's an aging receiver. His advanced metrics, his yards, average depth per catch decreased last season quite noticeably. So there were warning signs when it came to Keenan Allen. And listen, I've been the biggest Keenan Allen fan forever. I've owned him almost every year over the last 5 years in at least one of my leagues. Don't own him anywhere this year. I was very leery of his age, very leery of the average target numbers going down last season. And now he's dealing with the soft tissue injuries. And it looks like his season, while it's not, I won't say it's completely washed, certainly it's really trending in that direction. Talk about a wash season. Jonathan Taylor did not practice today for the Indianapolis Colts. And this is the second big injury issue of the day that I wanted to talk about. So Taylor did not practice. And that's why I put out that video today, about making the play for Jackson there, the backup, because it certainly looks like Taylor, while he does have a chance to play this week, the ankle injury is not getting any better. And it's really just compounding. The offense in general is just not firing on all cylinders. The blocking has been terrible. Taylor's finding no room. And now on top of that, he's injured. So, very disturbing. I think Deion Jackson, like I said in the video that I posted today, Deion Jackson is a very smart pickup. I would play him as a running back too in PPR leagues if Taylor misses a game. Remember earlier in the year when Taylor did sit out, Jackson posted 25 plus fantasy points. He caught 10 passes. He scored a touchdown on the ground. He was tremendous. Now, listen, he's not the best runner in the world. His average per carry isn't great, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, you have Sam Ehlinger, a young quarterback who can keep plays alive and also has been shown that he's willing to do the check down, go the check down route. That plays pretty well for this week's games. So while I'm not going to count Jonathan Taylor out, who is a very tough competitor, the ankle injury, it's really just sapping his speed, sapping his explosion. And my God, what a disaster of a season it's been. Anybody who passed on Christian McCaffrey to take Jonathan Taylor number one in their league, me included in one of my leagues, after I debated McCaffrey all summer, I just couldn't do it. And now clearly it was the wrong move. I'm not really beating myself up over it because it was hard to trust McCaffrey. I mean, let's face it. 10 games played total over the last 2 seasons, constantly injured. No one foresaw him going to the San Francisco 49ers. And by the way, if you're a gambler, I don't gamble other than in fantasy football. But if you're playing futures with Super Bowl winners, check out the San Francisco 49ers odds. Because I think the San Francisco 49ers, I know Jimmy Garoppolo, it's hard to trust him and hard to imagine he would lead a team to a Super Bowl. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to cause a lot of problems in the playoffs for a lot of teams. Minnesota Vikings, I don't trust them as far as I could throw. San Francisco 49ers, this is a Super Bowl team, in my opinion, has the look of a Super Bowl winner. Terrific run game, excellent receivers, receiving tight end who also can block. You have a tremendous pass rush, an improving defense, solid offensive line. Jimmy Garoppolo has gone to 2 NFC championships. Can he make the big throw in the fourth quarter? That is an open question mark for sure. But this is a team that's going to be making waves in the playoffs. Thank you, boss, for the insights. Is A.J. Dillon startable this week, or is he best left on the bench? Listen, I think he's had single-digit fantasy points for pretty much every single game except for, I believe, the opener this season. I own no shares anymore of Dillon. I had him in one league. I talked about how I traded him earlier in the show to get myself Gerald Everett for tight end this week. I wouldn't trust him. The Packers are using Aaron Jones heavily, which they should, and it's had very good results. Jones has been terrific the last 2 weeks. While I do respect A.J. Dillon as a runner and even as a receiver, I think he's a little bit of an underrated receiver. It's just not happening for him. Now you have to hold on to him, especially if you're an Aaron Jones owner. I would not cut A.J. Dillon because if Jones gets injured, you have a top 10, top 12 guy in all leagues because I do believe in the talent of A.J. Dillon. I think for him to succeed, he needs to get 15 carries a game, wears down the defense with his big body, his muscular body, and in the fourth quarter, he does his thing. He's not going to get that with Aaron Jones starting in front of him, and that's why you're seeing a lot of listless performances from him. If I know there's 6 teams on a bye this week. If you're in a pinch, certainly you can go A.J. Dillon, but that's the Aaron Jones show right now. Trade CEH or London for Dallas D. Listen, I had Dallas D last week against Chicago, and they absolutely got their ass handed to them. I guess you could trade CEH. I'd rather hold on to London. I've told you for weeks now to trade CEH. I think you missed that window to sell high on him when he was getting that unsustainable amount of touchdowns on a very low number of targets. But certainly for a defense, I really don't like trading players for a defense. But if you're that desperate for Dallas defense, which is a solid unit, I would try that. I'm going Indianapolis defense this week because Dallas is on a bye. So I went with the Colts defense, who've been pretty solid, even though the offense put them in really bad positions this season. So Colts, I think, is a good play that you could probably find on waivers. All right, Captain joking. Hi, loving the stream. Thank you, Captain. I really appreciate it. I work hard at this. And I know the chat's been going faster and faster the more subscribers I get. The super chat, I've been asked about that. I will have the super chat when I get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm almost at the 4,000 viewing hours. I think I'm at like 3,600 in really just like 12 weeks. So the channel grew really fast. So I really appreciate that, guys. But I will have the super chat up soon. All right, my team: Kirk Cousins, Eckler, Henry. Wow, Eckler and Henry. That's awesome. Devontae, D-Hop, Tony. I don't think Tony's really going to contribute much. Taysom Hill. Love Taysom Hill. You guys know how I feel about that. I have the option of trading D-Hop for Chubb. Should I do it? You have Devontae. It's hard to trade D-Hop, man. The Arizona Cardinals, it's not a good team, and I'm not a Kyler Murray fan, but they are very fantasy football friendly because they fall behind every week, and they have to play catch-up, and they throw it a lot. Listen, I love Nick Chubb, but you have Eckler and Henry. I don't think you need to do that deal. I really don't think you need to do it. I think D-Hop with Devontae gives you a very strong top 2 receivers, and you have a very strong top 2 running backs as well. So, hey, Salim, how you doing? Got Judy, Wilson, Debo, Gabe, MT, Devonta. Really need a reliable wide receiver. Who do I target? Who would you let go? I guess you could try to trade Debo. The name value is still high. I don't trust him. I haven't trusted him all season. I told you not to draft him. You're not going to get a lot for Judy. You're not going to get a lot for Wilson, certainly, or Gabe Davis. I would trade Debo. And it's hard to trade a receiver for another receiver. I need, it's very rare where that works. I would go maybe Allen Lazard, who practiced today, and he should play. I love Allen Lazard. I think he's tremendous. Juju Smith-Schuster, you all know, is a favorite of mine as well. You could maybe try those guys. Dallas has a really easy schedule. Yes, they do, M. John. They do have a very easy schedule, and generally they've been very good with the pass rush with Michael Parsons there, especially. Swift or Ken Walker, PPR rest of season. Oh, Ken Walker, without a doubt. Without a doubt, Connor, Ken Walker. Very down on DeAndre Swift. I don't know, Connor, if you saw the Crisis Point video that I put out on DeAndre Swift the other day. Make sure you check that out. I'm not liking what I'm seeing with the setup in Detroit with the offense and his usage. Jamal Williams getting the goal line carries. Williams getting the majority of carries. And Swift really is just a glorified third down back right now, which nobody could have anticipated. All right, South Carter or London for the flex. If you're talking the Chargers Carter or Michael Carter, which Carter are you talking about? I don't like any of the Falcons. I know, you definitely play Kyle Pitts if you own him, just because tight end is just a shit show like usual. But Drake London, it's been a big struggle. I would not play him. I would play Michael Carter if that's the question. Yeah, Michael Carter. I would play Michael Carter over Drake London. All right. So, let's go through the injury report. And I'll still take your questions, so make sure you keep posting your questions. Cordell Patterson will return to practice on Wednesday. He was up in the air about whether he's going to be able to return this week. He's going to return to his usual customary role as the primary runner. Hasn't gotten a lot of pass receptions this season just because of the offensive philosophy. And listen, I know the coaching staff in Atlanta has taken a beating from the fantasy football community, but in actual football, you need to laud this staff because the Falcons are a competitive team. They're winning games. They're getting it done with Marcus Mariota, quarterback, who frankly really hasn't been that bad himself. And, the Falcons are in the hunt for the NFC South. Nobody could have foresaw that. So the coaching staff for Atlanta is doing a tremendous job. It's just not jiving with fantasy football. Drake London has shit the bed since the beginning of September. Kyle Pitts, we all know that story. No need to rehash it. And now with Cordell Patterson getting ready to return, you got to view him as primarily just a runner. Whatever you get in the receiving game is a bonus. Tyler Algier is on borrowed time. He's been very touchdown dependent anyway. So, I think the Algier situation is not going to last much longer. Chaka asked me, should I trade away Walker and Godwin for Jefferson? Oh, man, that's a lot. I love Justin Jefferson. I really do. He hasn't scored a touchdown, though, since week 1. Now, I know Godwin hasn't scored at all, but they're throwing the ball a lot in Tampa Bay. Minnesota just brought in TJ Hawkinson. They saw Adam Thielen. There's now a lot of competition there. And I love Kenneth Walker. Oh, man, that's tough. Tampa Bay's offense has been brutal. Listen, if you have good running back depth, if you have 2 other good guys, then I would do it. If you have only 1 solid back, then I wouldn't do it. That's my answer to that one. CB Rush, start Christian Kirk or Darnell Mooney and flex. God, it's hard to trust Christian Kirk. He's been so bad. He's had 1 good game in the last 6. So I would go Darnell Mooney. At least we're seeing signs of life from Darnell Mooney of late, so I would go with Mooney. All right, so Chuba Hubbard, still in the rehab stage with his ankle. Donta Foreman didn't practice today. It was a veteran's rest day. Clearly it worked with Foreman, and he's going to have that Nick Chubb fantasy profile. He's not going to catch pass. He didn't even catch a single pass despite 30 plus fantasy points last week. Talking about Donta Foreman. But listen, the guy knows how to run the football, and he's been one of the rare post-Achilles injury backs that's actually doing something. So yes, I would play him. Chuba Hubbard. I told you guys to to pick up Foreman over Hubbard. I'm not a big fan of Hubbard in PPR leagues. If it's a very deep league, maybe, but I'm not holding my breath on him. All right, Kadarius Toney will work in practice this week. So Kadarius Toney is magically healthy when he goes to Kansas City Chiefs. So this is what I told you was going to happen. The guy was an absolute bum here in New York with the Giants. I'm a Giant fan. Y'all know that. Absolute disgrace. Barely played. Showed no interest in this team, no interest in coming back. He was more interested in his rap career, constantly injuring his hamstrings. Just an absolute bust. Thank you, Dave Gettleman. I really appreciate that one. Anybody that gets traded to the Kansas City Chiefs is going to instantly, net a lot of hype in the fantasy football world. I'm not really in on Kadarius Toney. He had the 10-catch, 189-yard game against Dallas. Still has yet to score a touchdown, but he has explosive ability. There's no doubt about it. He has that Tyreek Hill trait as a true game breaker, but Juju's ahead of him. Mecole Hardman's ahead of him. Kelsey's ahead of him. You got CEH out of the backfield, Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield. I think Kadarius Toney is just going to be a bit player the rest of the way. That trade was done with next season in mind because Mecole Hardman's a free agent. Juju is a free agent. They need young blood at that position. I don't remember what MVS's contract is. I want to say it was a 3-year deal. I could be wrong. But that trade for Kadarius Toney was more for next season, not this season. All right, so Allen Lazard practiced today. I was very happy to see this as a double Allen Lazard owner, which I am. And truth be told, since I told you to buy low on him after week 1, he's been terrific. Almost every game he's posted a very good to tremendous fantasy football score. So it's been double digits almost every time. He's the primary read for Aaron Rodgers in the red zone. Now, if Lazard does come back this week, Romeo Doubs is now on a border of being a flex play. Doubs excelled last week because Lazard wasn't there. Now with Lazard looking like he's ready to come back, I'm not sure if he was limited. He probably was limited, but with Lazard coming back now, you got to drop Romeo Doubs in terms of expected fantasy points. Cam Akers, the Rams turned down multiple offers for Cam Akers. They're going to try to convince him to come back. Akers seems like he has no interest in coming back to the Rams. So just like with Elijah Moore, the guy's a baby. Just grow up. Grow the fuck up. Seriously. Excuse my language, but you play professional football. 99.999% of us would do anything to be in your position. And, you're just going to throw it away because you're unhappy with your role. Give me a break. It's just an absolute disgrace. Cam Akers should be dropped. His ownership is still relatively high, which I don't understand. It's just not happening, guys. Cut bait, move on. Kyren Williams is the guy to own. If he could just get himself healthy, though. Geez, get on the field, Kyren, please. While he was with Notre Dame, Kyren Williams caught a lot of passes. He was not a blazing runner, but he was very productive. He always fell forward. He broke tackles. He picked up yards after contact. So I'm still very interested in what Kyren Williams is going to do. Jahan Dotson did not practice with a hamstring. J.D. McKissick did not practice with a neck injury. Both guys are drops, in my opinion. I know Dotson had the nice first couple of weeks, scoring a couple of touchdowns there. But, Curtis Samuel's ahead of him. Terry McLaurin's ahead of him. And how about Terry McLaurin? He's definitely coming back now, back into the good graces of the fantasy football community with Taylor Heineke back under center. So, I think both of those guys are borderline drops. Derek Carr was limited with a back injury today. Listen, this Raiders offense is broken. Whether it's Derek Carr, whether it's Darren Waller, and Darren Waller was limited with his hamstring. So, it's just a mess. I mean, yes, you're starting Davante Adams, and I think Davante Adams will be okay. I did that crisis point video on him earlier in the week. Make sure you check that out. I was optimistic about him going forward. Josh Jacobs, he'll be fine as well. He's going to get a lot of carries, a lot of touches, so I'm not worried about Josh Jacobs. But Darren Waller, I mean, second straight season now, it's been a bust. So I think you could classify him as a bust. And by the way, that poll that I posted is Jonathan Taylor, the biggest bust of the season. 87% of the respondents to this point have said he is, down to 81%. In my opinion, based on the fact that he was number one overall, I think he was the biggest bust of the season. If the season ended right now, he saw his time to change that narrative, but my God, it's been ugly. And what's interesting is in the league that I did draft him number one overall, I'm 6-2, so it hasn't sunk me. That's because I nailed the rest of my draft. This was one of the best drafts I ever had. I mean, I drafted Ramondre Stevenson. I was able to grab Kelsey, and it shows, and Lamar Jackson. So it shows you this particular team where I blew it with the top pick. I drafted Lamar Jackson, so I've talked about endlessly already how valuable it is to have that dual threat quarterback. And I drafted Kelsey at the top of the third round, showing you, again, the value of having that supreme pass-catching tight end. And I drafted Ramondre Stevenson. I drafted Allen Lazard, Chris Godwin, guys who are tremendous values that are really paying off going past their ADP now in terms of their production. Trade Kelsey for Goddard, Devontae, and McLaurin. Oh, my God, yes. I mean, who's the idiot that made that offer? Goddard, who's having a terrific season. I don't mention Goddard enough, guys. I apologize for that. It's Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. Dallas Goedert is right there. He was in that next tier with TJ Hawkinson, Darren Waller, George Kittle. He's been better than all three of those guys. I think Goddard is right behind Kelce and Andrews. Yes, Element do that trade. That's unbelievable. Somebody offered you that. Swift was a DMP. I hope it was just for maintenance. Yeah, I think it was a maintenance issue. But again, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from DeAndre Swift. He's hurt again this whole season already. His role has shrunk. He's not the goal line back. It's not what anybody envisioned when it came to his season. Do you think Andrews plays? Will they play likely with Andrews? It's just Andrews are healthy. Listen, they should play likely. And they had talked about that in the preseason when likely was lighting it up back in the preseason. It's never really come to fruition. I think Andrews will play. Andrews is very tough. He's very durable. I know he's banged up, but he's probably going to give it a go, and I think the extra day will help. I'm not ready to say that likely will be featured, even though Rashad Bateman's out, will be featured in conjunction with Andrews. I want to see it first before I actually put likely out there. Jamar Chase did not practice Wednesday, so he wasn't put on injured reserve. But again, I don't see. I think their bye is next week. There's no reason to play Jamar Chase this week. Get the guy healthy. Take the next couple of weeks. See if the hip responds. And he's not far from being out of the woods on this. Surgery is still on the table. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins both caught a touchdown in his place. But that Bengals offense did not look good against the Cleveland Browns. That was a big win for the Browns on Monday night. Higgins had that late fourth quarter touchdown that saved his day. He wasn't very good. Is T. Higgins Juju Smith-Schuster in Pittsburgh with Antonio Brown, or is he more than that? That's what we're going to find out the next couple of weeks, I believe. Keenan Allen's hammy got worse during the bye. Yes, it did, Anthony. Anthony, I don't know if he just came in, but I talked about that at the top of the show. Complete bust of a season for Keenan Allen. He's reached that cliff season, in my opinion. Okay, guys, full PPR, 12-man. I just traded CD and Taylor for CMC. You paid a lot, but okay. And Garrett Wilson, do you guys think I mess up or was it okay? I think Taylor's season is done. I mean, listen, based on where we are now in the season, yes, you better hope CMC stays healthy, though. That's the only thing. Whoever has Jeff Wilson in your league, Yosh, you got to make sure you get Jeff Wilson to back up CMC because Jeff Wilson can play. So God forbid for you, if CD gets hurt, at least you're covered there. I mean, listen, you paid a lot. CD and Taylor is a high price to pay. I think if I was a CMC owner, I would have taken that deal. hoping that Taylor would turn it around. But there is risk for both you and that guy and the person that made that trade. Carlos asking me, would you trade Dameon Pierce for Swift? I do own Jamal Williams. No, I would not do that. You don't need to. Jamal Williams is the goal line back, Carlo. He's getting the high value touches where Swift is just really a glorified third down back, and Dameon Pierce has been terrific. And God, it's going to be ugly tomorrow, guys. Brandon Cooks probably not going to play, throwing his shit fit after not getting traded, and I don't blame him one bit in this case, unlike, the Elijah Moore situation. Nico Collins is not playing. I don't know who Davis Mills is going to throw to. It's all going to hell for the Houston Texans right now. The Eagles might even pitch a shutout. That's how bad it is. And one thing I will say, if you're an A.J. Brown or a Devontae Smith owner, this game might be decided by halftime. It could be like 28-0 at the half, and then the Eagles might not throw the ball in the second half as much. So it may not be as profitable a day as you would think with if you're an A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith owner against the Houston Texans, seeing the soft opposition. Because, again, if they start blowing the Texans out massively in the second quarter, they're going to go run heavy the second half. It's going to limit the opportunities for Brown and Devontae Smith. Hey, Erwin, how you doing? You're welcome, Yosh. No problem. Yes, Salem, thank you. Everybody hit that subscribe and like button. I appreciate it. Your boy McCaffrey went off this weekend. Yeah, man, listen. I mean, the guy is an absolute fantasy cheat code, and I didn't draft him with the number 1 pick. Again, I'm not killing myself. I mean, listen, it's easy. Hindsight is always 20/20, right, guys? For sure. McCaffrey's gone nuclear. I still think evidence in front of me, Taylor was the quote unquote correct call given his durability. But now, how ironic that he's the one that's beat up and McCaffrey is absolutely going ballistic. Devontae Adams was limited because he's still battling from the illness. So, I think he'll be fine. I don't think there's any reason that he'll be out. Between him, Hurts, and A.J. Brown, for me, easy win. Yeah, seriously. I mean, you definitely balled out for that one. Josh Palmer, clear concussion protocol, so he is good to go. Josh Palmer set for a very big game this week. Julio Jones didn't practice with a knee injury. Nobody cares. Christian Watson did not practice for the Packers because of his concussion. James Conner, limited with his ribs. Not good. James Conner, just go away, dude. Derrick Henry was limited with a foot injury. Listen, Derrick Henry is always going to play. There is never a reason to worry about Derrick Henry. The guy is a stud. We all had reservations about Derrick Henry coming into the season, but he has been as good as ever. He's lighting it up every week on the ground. 30-plus fantasy points in Week 8. Helped, majority of his owners win their matchups for sure. It was just tremendous. The guy's been tremendous. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, and he still has life in his legs at the age of 28. Cooper Kupp did not practice today with the ankle injury. So he did do the walkthrough, didn't take part in any of the on-field stuff. So, listen, everybody is saying that Kupp is going to play. And Kupp's another guy that always fights through injuries, and he always winds up playing. But keep an eye on this situation. I'm not totally comfortable saying that Kupp is definitely going to play. Van Jefferson would really be a nice plug-and-play flex option if Kupp were to sit out. Allen Robinson, who's starting to come on now, finally, as an Allen Robinson apologist from the beginning of the season. I drafted him in both of my leagues. At least we're seeing signs of life from Allen Robinson, which is good. But this Cooper Kupp situation bears watching. I'm very curious to see what he does tomorrow in practice. And, of course, Friday, that will be a big one as well. Jesus Christ, man, is it worth keeping James Conner at this point so injury-prone? No, it's not. Cut him loose. Listen, I'm going to talk about the guys who have gone over the cliff this season. He is one of them, and it's not a newsflash. James Conner is done, in my opinion. I think he's just a backup quarterback from this point in his career. Has had a lot of injuries throughout his career going back to college. I think has sapped his athletic ability, has sapped his speed, and I think he's pretty much done. Jalen Waddle, full participant. He has a shoulder injury. He was able to go today. So Jalen Waddle. And, Jalen Waddle's another guy. Always seems to show up on the injury report, but always seems to put himself out there and play as well. So Jalen Waddle can play on my team any day of the week and twice on Sunday. All right, Swift, Gus Edwards, Pacheco, Eno. Do I play Pierce against Philly? You're definitely not playing Pacheco. You almost have to play Pierce because they have nobody else. And I know that Philly defense is brutal, especially along that defensive line. But just based on the sheer volume of touches that he's going to get, I would be playing Damian Pierce. Antonio Pierce, one of the great giant linebackers that nobody ever wants to talk about. Hey, if Cooper Kupp don't play, who's a better play? Garrett Wilson, Curtis Samuel, half PPR Superflex, by the way. Allen Robinson and Devin Duvernay is on waivers. Who should I drop between them? I would definitely, out of all those guys, I would play Allen Robinson for sure. You could drop Curtis Samuel. I'm not a Curtis Samuel fan. I know he had that big start, but that was with Carson Wentz, whereas Taylor Heineke is focusing much more heavily on Terry McLaurin. All right. So the Cliff season. It's never too early to start looking ahead to next season. And 2022 is already revealing to me players who were starting to inch up in age, and now this season have gone over that cliff statistically and are now on the down slopes of their careers. And there are a number of players, key players, that have fit this description. FF Ice, Ramondre Stevenson, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Foreman, pick 2. Oh, God, that's a tough one. I love Ramondre Stevenson, so I have to go with him. It's tough. Cook. Is this PPR? If it's PPR, it's definitely Ramondre Stevenson, and then I would say Aaron Jones. If it's standard, Stevenson and Cook. So that's how I would look at it. And thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah. So if it's PPR, then I would go Ramondre Stevenson and Aaron Jones. All right, getting back to the Cliff season. I talked yesterday. Joe Mixon has gone over the cliff. His average per carry is pathetic. It's under 4. I don't know what it is exactly, but in almost every game this season, Mixon is averaged between like 2.5 and 3 yards per carry. He's had very heavy workloads the last couple of seasons. I believe he's 27, which is, over 26 for a running back, not named Derrick Henry, is the danger zone. It's gotten younger and younger. Defensive players are bigger. The punishment that running backs are taking is much more severe. So today's running backs are declining even earlier. So Joe Mixon has gone over the cliff, in my opinion. I am out on him for next season. We talked about James Conner. He clearly has gone over the cliff. I am out on James Conner next season. Keenan Allen has gone over the cliff. I am out on him next season. For a receiver, it's turning 30. For a running back, it's 27. For a receiver, it's turning 30. Especially, the speed quotient. Soft tissue injuries tend to crop up. We've seen now with Keenan Allen with this hamstring, he just can't get over it. And I think that the cliff season is here for Keenan Allen. I am out on him next year. Is trading away Saquon and Judy for Mixon and D-Hop good? I wouldn't do that. No, definitely not. D-Hop is another guy who has reached the age of 30. Now he's lighting it up for sure. And listen, DeAndre Hopkins has tilted more fantasy football leagues than any other player outside of maybe Ramondre Stevenson since he came back. He's been a wide receiver 1, slam dunk top 5 wide receiver 1 his first 2 games back. So he's really skewing fantasy football leagues right now more than almost any other player in the game. Is trading away? Would you drop London? Yeah, you could. I think you could drop London. They just don't throw the ball enough. Facing off against Mahomes this weekend. Good luck. Hoping Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Olave can somehow get the victory for me. I mean, listen, you got good guys there. But what I would say, again, the Eagles, they might blow out the Texans so quickly in this game that they may not throw the ball as much as you might think. All right, getting back to the Cliff season. I would think you guys would agree. Leonard Fournette looks like he's going over the cliff. So I'm probably going to be out on Fournette next year. Rachaad White is going to be a thing. Rachaad White has looked good almost every chance he's gotten to touch the football. Leonard Fournette has gone over the cliff. Going through the list here. Devontae. Alvin Kamara has not gone over the cliff, but he's 27. So it's just something to think about. Alvin Kamara is playing really well, but again, he's inching closer to that danger zone for a running back. All right, so Mike Evans. Let's talk about Mike Evans. Do you guys think Mike Evans has gone over the cliff or he's approaching the cliff? He's right at that age, in my opinion. I I think Evans is right there. Am I wrong about this? A.J. Dillon or Michael Carter this week. CMC on a bye. Michael Carter. I can't, A.J. Dillon's single digits for how many weeks now? I think you got to try Michael Carter. Fournette for Hopkins straight up. If you're getting Hopkins, Anthony, yes, I absolutely would do that because I think Rashad White's going to get more and more work. So what do you guys think? Mike Evans, is he approaching that cliff season? I think his advanced metrics are starting to slide a little bit. His average depth per target, I believe, is down a bit. He has battled hamstring injuries the last couple of years, including this year. He battled a hamstring in camp. He's battling hamstrings again. So I think Mike Evans is not over the cliff, but I think he's like almost right there. Agree or don't agree? Yeah, I'm out on Evans. Yeah, I just have the feeling, Carlo, and I'm a big Mike Evans fan. There, 1,000 yards in the bank every year, double-digit scores. He is one of the most underappreciated receivers in NFL history, in my opinion. And that's not hyperbole. He really is that underappreciated. Just because he doesn't put up the 100-catch seasons, Evans is a phenomenal, phenomenal player that nobody ever talks about in terms of the best receivers in today's game. But I think he's approaching that cliff season. What kind of wide receiver you think you could get packaging Patterson and Foreman? Not big, not a lot, Bob. Listen, Patterson's not even back yet, so I don't think you can get too much there. If you want to try Godwin, maybe. Adam Thielen, I think, is somebody you could get. I think you could get Adam Thielen, and I do like Adam Thielen because he scores a lot of touchdowns. Evans, I think, is definitely there. God, how good has Brandon Ayuk been? I'm just going through the names here. Brandon Ayuk has been tremendous, absolutely tremendous for sure. And I told you about Michael Pittman. I told you to sell him. Wasn't good last week. Had a bad drop too. Michael Evans, ETN, nope. Obviously Miles Sanders. I'm just going through the list here. So Zach Ertz, approaching the cliff season. I think Zach Ertz will be good this season. Next year, I think it's going to get a little scary. All right, made this trade 2 weeks ago. Received Ramondre Stevenson. Well done. I love Ramondre Stevenson. Absolutely love him. And DJ Moore gave away Pittman. Well done, man. Round of applause for that one. Ice Prod, great trade for you. I feel like he's getting a bit fragile, especially when Tom Brady keeps on throwing difficult passes. Yeah, Erwin, that's true. Absolutely, he's getting beat up. Jacoby Myers, guys. How about Jacoby Myers the season he's having? Very underrated. I just wanted to mention that as I go through the list here, looking for other cliff players. Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's just been bad. But not totally through his completely his fault. Would you? Thanks, bro. Yeah, no problem. That's a great trade. Opinion on Pickens and Mooney the rest of season. I think it's going to be inconsistent, that Pittsburgh offense. They're getting criticized a lot for throwing the ball too much. So I like Mooney better than Pickens. Would you trade Stevenson and Pittman for JT, Mike Williams, and Cooks? I would not do that. I would not trade Ramondre Stevenson. He's going to have a phenomenal finish to the year. Need a running back. I got Pittman, Lazard, and Michael Carter on my bench. Who can I get? So I think Pittman and Lazard are tradable, certainly. I think you get Aaron Jones. If you maybe pair Carter with Pittman, you could try an Aaron Jones. Kenneth Walker's too new. It got too much hype. I don't think you can get him. Just thinking off the top of my head. You definitely can get Raheem Mostert, but I don't know if you really want to do that. Miles Sanders, definitely. You can get Miles Sanders. Kareem Hunt, if it's a PPR league, you can get him. Those are the guys you got to look. I would try Aaron Jones, see if you can get him, although he's been very hot lately. Dameon Pierce, you probably can get Dameon Pierce as well. Nobody would take Pittman. I sold him literally as soon as I found out that they made a quarterback change. Does Brandon Cooks have any value anymore? Series of no-shows, disgruntled. No, I don't think he does, George. I just unloaded him. I traded Brandon Cooks in a deal for Gerald Everett and Justin Fields because I need a tight end and quarterback in the next 2 weeks. I got out from Cooks. I traded for him 2 weeks ago, hoping he was going to get traded. Just didn't happen. What's your thoughts on Hayden Hurst versus Taysom Hill? Listen, you all know I love Taysom Hill, and I still do. His snap percentage was a season high 33%, so he's playing more and more. And I think Hill has a better chance to score a touchdown than Hayden Hurst. That's what I would say about that debate. Who can we trade Keenan Allen for? You can't trade Keenan Allen for anything, Blue Crew. I hate to say it. Wansley comes back, posts a good game, and then you trade him. Najee, a bigger bust than Taylor. He's remained healthy. I will say that. So I think Taylor is still a bigger bust, but it's close. Evan's definitely looking at the cliff. Yeah, he's looking at the cliff for me, in my opinion. In real life, is there any chance Cooks gets bought out by the Texans? I'm just hoping. No, I don't think so. It's way too much money. $18 million guaranteed. They're not going to buy him out. They will trade him in the offseason, though, even if they have to eat some money. Ezekiel Elliott, cliff season for sure, 100%. So I'm out on Ezekiel. I was out on Ezekiel Elliott this season as well. I think he already, I really think Ezekiel has already gone over the cliff, but the role that Dallas is using him in has propped him up a little bit and staved off disaster, if you will. I think David Montgomery is going to be an early cliff guy. He just doesn't have enough speed, and I think he takes a lot of hits because he's not a breakaway guy, and he's a strictly between the tackles runner, and I think David Montgomery would be in early decline. I don't think he is declining, but that's just something to keep in mind. I'm not drafting him anywhere next season anyway. Big cliff player, Kamara, I feel like the edge of the way he plays is just not something you can see him doing much longer. Yeah, I did say that a couple of minutes ago. I don't think he's over the cliff, but next season, I think Kamara could be in what we're seeing out of Joe Mixon this year. Tyler Higbee, no, he's not a cliff guy. Melvin Gordon's already over the cliff. Allen Robinson. I think Matthew Stafford has gone over the cliff. I definitely think that long season last year took a lot out of him. I think DeAndre Hopkins next season could be going over the cliff. So I would be very nervous about DeAndre Hopkins next season. I think Robert Woods is already over the cliff, as we've seen this season. Robert Woods has gone over the cliff. And yeah, that's what those are the key guys in terms of who I think is going to go over the cliff next season. I do agree with you about Alvin Kamara. I think this is his last hurrah as a prime running back one. He'll be, I think, turning 28 next season, which is a very scary age for a running back. So I would be very leery of Alvin Kamara next season. Fournette's a cliff guy. Yeah, Fournette is definitely a cliff guy. We're seeing that. And that hurts me because I do have him in both leagues. I guess I had some blinders on. I tried to get Fournette last season, and I didn't. He was tremendous, and he totally balled out. And maybe that's why I was a little over the top drafting him this year. And listen, he hasn't been terrible. There's been a couple of duds, but overall Fournette has posted the numbers, but mostly it's come through the passing game. My bad, I missed that. Yeah, it's earlier in the show. No problem. Aaron Rodgers. It's hard to tell how much of the blame Rodgers can get because of the wide receiver situation. I think the front office has really let Aaron Rodgers down. So, it's hard to see if we are seeing decline out of Rodgers or if it's more just there's nobody to throw to. Remember, guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button. Is Eckler a little scary next year? A little bit. Very high usage for a small back. There's no doubt about it. But listen, he has remained durable. He is a physical marvel. Anybody seen the pictures of him weightlifting? He's just a muscular freak. Austin Eckler. I do think there is fear next season for him for sure. You bought very high on him coming off of last season, and so far he's held it. But to expect that 3 years in a row, yeah, I would be a little bit leery about that. Do you think Hollywood Brown scores well when he comes back or no because of D-Hop? I think there will be a dip. He's not going to put Marquise Brown is not going to put up those per game numbers that he did with D-Hop out of the lineup. But I think he could still be a low end wide receiver too. I think Rondale Moore gets hurt more. And Rondale Moore, listen, he balled out last week, and I'm using Rondale Moore in all my leagues that I do own him in for this week. What about David Montgomery? Yeah, Urban, I did say that about David Montgomery. I think he's an early decline guy just because he takes a lot of hits. He is a plodding runner. The most boring running back this side of Joe Mixon is David Montgomery, and I think he's a candidate to be an early decline guy for sure. Ramondre definitely heading off a cliff? No way. He's just getting started. I don't know. I definitely don't agree about that. I think Ramondre Stevenson is just a tremendous, terrific first-round pick next season for sure. Do you think there's a chance Derrick Henry plays on Sunday? He was limited. Yeah, Derrick Henry's always going to play. I have no problem, no debate that he will be out there. This week, excuse me. D-Hop and Hollywood pair really well too. Yes, for sure. Kittle. Kelsey's 33. Yeah, Kelsey. Yes, that's a good one. I missed that one, Carlo. You're absolutely right. Kelsey is potentially facing that cliff season. But guys, remember this. Tony Gonzalez never really declined. You know, he went from the Chiefs to the Falcons, and he was still awesome with the Falcons almost all the way to retirement. There was a slight decline at the end, but Tony Gonzalez, and I'm reading a book right now about tight ends. I can't remember the title off the top of my head. It's a really good book. It's about the history of tight ends, and Tony Gonzalez has a chapter devoted to him. Tony Gonzalez was just an awesome player every single year, and he was a good guy too. You always wanted to root for him. I was kidding about Ramondre. Yeah, you definitely triggered me on that one because you know I love Ramondre Stevenson. I am the president of the Ramondre Stevenson fan club for sure. Yes, I did get triggered on that one. Should I trade Stevenson and Christian Kirk for Amon-Ra St. Brown and James Robinson? No, I would not do that. I can't trade Stevenson in any league. I'm sorry. I just can't get behind that. Any news on Mark Andrews? I think Mark Andrews is not going to practice until Friday. I think he will play, and I think he'll be okay. Yes, Zeke for sure. I think Zeke's already gone over the cliff, but I think Dallas is using him strategically enough that it's working. Thank God I traded Keenan week 2. I'd be livid. Yeah, it's been bad for Keenan Allen, 100%. Don't like Jerry Jones talking him up after Pollard win Luka. Yeah, listen, this is what you get with Dallas. Jerry Jones is everything. He's the president, the executioner. He's the coach. He's everything. And I think Mike McCarthy knows that. He's just got to swallow and just, nod his head, and that's what's going to happen with Jerry Jones, unfortunately. Russell Wilson is sitting on the bottom of – yes, Russell Wilson missed that one. Yes, Russell Wilson is sitting on the bottom of the cliff. He is done, shot, sucks, lost his speed, can't throw in the pocket, never could throw in the pocket, but now that he can't escape the pocket, just garbage. Would you play Taysom Hill over Gerald Everett? No, I would not this week. I wouldn't. As much as I love Taysom Hill, I think Gerald Everett's going to be very heavily targeted. I swung a trade for him in one of my leagues for that reason. I dropped Russell Wilson and let him ride to the waiver. Yeah, he's sitting on the waiver wire still in one of my leagues. It's been that bad. Every time you guys mention Taysom Hill, I don't know if it's somebody who's in the chat right now, but the biggest laugh I got this season in the chat was when somebody said, bench Kyle Pitts for Taysom Hill. And it really just kind of drove home the point about how bad Kyle Pitts has been this season. And again, not totally his fault. It's the offensive philosophy in Atlanta. And you can't fault them because they're winning games. The Atlanta Falcons are winning games. In fantasy, though, you could be frustrated. I get it. If you're a Drake London owner, if you're a Kyle Pitts owner, you could certainly be frustrated by the situation that you're seeing in terms of the lack of a passing game in Atlanta. Guys, I just want to mention this. Get rid of Swift ASAP. Yeah, I agree with you, Ice Prod. I think DeAndre Swift still has enough name value that I think you could get out from under him, like I did with Michael Pittman after Matt Ryan got benched. I think the writing is on the wall. We all collectively missed on Swift. I think a couple of guys in fantasy football community collectively missed on DeAndre Swift, Kyle Pitts, Chase Edmonds. That's a big one. Clearly, Jonathan Taylor. If you want to throw CMC in there, you know what? I wouldn't include CMC because it was really just about injury. It was not that we didn't think he could do it stat-wise, when he's on the field. But, it was all about health there. So I don't think we missed on McCaffrey so much. It was just feared the injury. Najee, I don't think there was enough people worried about Najee. I was one of them. I certainly did not miss on Najee because I told you all to avoid him. A.J. Dillon, that's another one we definitely missed on. It hasn't been good there. Darren Waller, we missed on. Justin Fields over Geno Smith this week. Yeah, I would play Justin Fields. And next week, Chicago has Atlanta, and I'm a Lamar Jackson owner, so I'm playing Justin Fields next week. And I think Justin Fields is going to be a QB1 the rest of the way, guys. The offense is now perfectly tailored to his strengths. He's running like a madman. He's picking up a lot of chunk yardage on the ground, and he's actually throwing the football well, too. He's capitalizing in the red zone. He's putting up decent touchdown totals in the passing game, and it's working. They just brought in Chase Claypool. They have Khalil Herbert, who's very explosive, taking pressure off the defensive line. You have Darnell Mooney, who's been playing well. I think the Chicago offense is now starting to ride the plane upwards, and the numbers are starting to flow. Fields is definitely starting to do his thing. Thoughts on Brian Robinson? I have 6 players on bye this week. I'm down bad. Yeah, Brian Robinson hasn't been good. The average per carry has been bad enough that Antonio Gibson he left the door open for Antonio Gibson to now work his way back in and carve out a role for himself again. But, if you're that desperate, I think Robinson can get 10 to 12 carries, but he's not going to do much in the passing game, even though he's capable of that. He did catch balls while he was at Alabama. I was nervous for a second with Henry because I have in fantasy. It was reported that it was maintenance. Yeah, it's always maintenance with Henry. Again, the guy's 28 years old. He's had a lot of mileage on his legs. Simple, just rest day for him. He'll be fine. Got to go, but thanks for the advice. Hit the subscribe notifications, like button. Y'all should do. Yes, thanks, IceProd. I appreciate that. And guys, once I get over those 1,000 subscribers, I will have the super chat. And I know some of you expressed interest of being moderators, so I'm going to need moderators eventually. So, when the porn shit gets posted, as it does all over the internet, unfortunately, those scumbags who do that, I need people to take that stuff down. So I'm going to need some people to do that as we go forward. I've already started to work on my book, the 2023 NFL Scouting Player Draft Guide. So that book's going to come out sometime in late January, early February. So I'm already scouting. I watch every college football game known to man. Finalizing, I know the season's already more than halfway over in college football. I'm finalizing the scouting reports on all the prospects. I still think C.J. Stroud is the top guy. I think the Carolina Panthers winning games maybe hurting their chances to possibly get him. They certainly have a need there. But that book will be coming out in February, and I'll let you all know as we get closer. All right, guys, I'm going to finish now. Good stream tonight, as always. Probably going to do another one tomorrow, so look for the notification button. Hit that subscribe button. We will all chat tomorrow. You guys have a great night. We will talk soon.